Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our official Rossabron Export YouTube channel and to my vlog, Arms with Basil. And today we're going to review the legend in its kind, Dragunov Sniper Rifle, SVD, and its collapsible version, SVDS. S stands for collapsible in Russian. It's not just efficient and reliable weapon. It's been the basic sniper rifle for the Russian armed forces and for the armed forces all over the world for decades.
And we have our specialist from Kalashnikov, Vladimir Onokoy. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I love every chance to spend summer morning on the range I can get. So today we have two different variants of the SVD and SVDS. While SVD was developed in the 60s, SVDS was developed in the 90s, and the main purpose of the collapsible stock was to actually use it when the Russian paratroopers are jumping from the plane with their weapons. Because typically many other militaries, the paratroopers are going to have their weapon in a container or somewhere else. In the Russian army, it's always here on the chest, and you have to have a collapsible stock. So the SVD and the overall concept is pretty interesting because it's one of the first semi-automatic designated marksman rifles ever designed. Right now, there are many designated marksman rifles, the weapons that are used within the squad by the best shooter, by the best marksman. And this exact concept was, in fact, the reality in the late 50s and 60s. And this is exactly why this weapon was developed. So it's not a weapon for a highly specialized sniper who's only a few snipers in the entire unit who's shooting at a mile. This is for a normal marksman who's supporting his own squad, can take down the most important targets, and basically he's working within the squad. It's not a lone wolf somewhere in the swamp. It's one of the guys in the squad equipped with the best weapon available. Obviously, this weapon, for many people, it looks a lot like the AK. So there are a lot of jokes that, when Russians wanted to develop a sniper rifle, they just rechambered the AK. But in fact, this weapon is, well, it has a lot of differences if you look at the AK and the SVD.
By the way, as far as I heard, this rifle was developed from the scratch.
Exactly.
So the Eugen Fyodorovich, the designer, he had nothing at his disposal. He was designing it straight from the scratch, and he didn't think about using elements, bolt carrier groups, or other elements within this rifle from the AK.
Exactly.
Right.
In fact, that's correct. And it has to be said that he was a very determined man. You can imagine that by that time, the technology for AK production was perfected. He had stamped receivers, hammer forged barrels, but he absolutely knew what has to be done. So you can see that no expense was spared, and an entire new line of manufacturing was developed to make a new milled receiver, to basically develop an entire new manufacturing technology for the barrel. So Mr. Dragunov was not just a very talented engineer, very talented shooter. His son told me that he was shooting competitively all his life until he started working on the SVD, because when he started working on the SVD, he simply didn't have time to go to the shooting competitions and win all the trophies. So basically the factory had to develop an entire new line, production line, to make this weapon. And as you said, it's been very reliable, proven in many different conflicts. And we can see that recently a lot of different countries are turning to the same concept and developing their own designated marksman rifles. But this weapon is still in service with the Russian army. There are a lot of different upgrades. There are a lot of different scopes, night vision, thermal scopes, modern day scopes, special chassis that allow you to use all those modern equipment. So the SVD is still used very effectively, and in fact, I don't think it will be completely replaced anytime soon because, again, it's accurate enough, it's very reliable, the soldiers trust it. It is mass produced and the technology is very, very well developed. So I think it's, and also when we start comparing it with other counterparts from other countries, we see that we managed to keep the price within the reasonable range. So when a client has to look for a designated marksman rifle, sometimes it's one of the most affordable options and it will definitely get the job done.
And definitely it works within the whole range of temperatures, from -50 up to +50. And there's no secret that it's been used in Africa, in other parts of the world, and the reliability is there.
Exactly. One thing that we have to keep in mind is that typically for sniper rifles in every country, the standards for reliability are much lower. Here in Russia, the reliability standards are exactly the same for all the army issued weapons. This weapon was tested pretty much to the same protocols, and it was a necessity because when soldiers are trained with an AK, they have certain expectations from the other weapons that they will handle. And despite the fact that the system is slightly different, it's not a long stroke piston, it's a short stroke piston. It's only slightly more complex than an AK, which is definitely a good thing when you're talking about a designated marksman rifle or sniper rifle.
And for every soldier who's trained in the AK technology, it's a great step up to be introduced to marksmanship courses and to use this rifle on the range and in battle.
Yeah, there are some differences with an AK. For example, it has a bolt hold open. So when the magazine is empty, the bolt and a bolt carrier will lock and show you that you need to reload, and basically you can reload slightly faster.
It's kind of a foolproof system for the instructor.
Yeah, it's also very useful when you just need to cool off the barrel. I always lock it back when I need to cool it off slightly faster. One more thing is a regulated gas system. It has a normal and adverse condition setting. So if you realize that you can't clean your weapon, that, maybe there's a sandstorm, maybe something else, you simply switch to the adverse conditions and you can be absolutely sure that all this gas is going to keep the parts moving and you're not going to have any stoppages.
And by the way, another interesting idea, when you're talking about the sniper rifle, you always think about quite a complicated system, and which requires attention and cleaning and servicing. But this rifle will be at your disposal in the harshest battle conditions. And you can fix it, by the way, easily, and clean it and service it. You don't have to be a PhD for that.
Yeah, and you can see that recently, obviously all of the parts like the handguard, stock, they're not made of wood anymore. Also, a lot of people are used to a more traditional look where the handguard and the stock are made of wood. Right now,
it looks nice.
Yeah, it does look nice. Yeah, we still,
really
for the civilian market, we still sell the wooden ones and they're in big demand. But right now, the military version, it's a special polymer that doesn't melt. Obviously, it's even more durable and reliable than the wood. So we still see a lot of demand for this rifle, especially if you are looking for a weapon for a designated marksman and not some kind of $1 million sniper rifle for this 1 mile shot.
And it can be a basic or your cornerstone in your marksmanship training course. So it can be used by the soldiers starting their sniper course or marksman course, or by the skilled and trained marksmen to reduce training costs.
I think another advantage of this weapon is the round that it uses. Because if the military is using 7.62 by 54, typically in the PKM, you can use the same machine gun ammo. It will be accurate enough. You can use special sniper rounds, and most importantly, you can use modern 7N14 sniper armor-piercing rounds, and not many companies can actually offer that. So 7N14 would offer you armor penetration capabilities, but also good accuracy. So that's something a lot of militaries are looking into.
Yeah, don't forget to check Rosoboron export site. I guess, ladies and gentlemen, you are here not to listen to us, but to have a look at the way we shoot, at the way this sniper rifle works. Before that, I will tell you a small story about the nickname of this rifle and the whole word that became slang word. The sound of this rifle sounds like a whip. And in the early 90s, all the guns adopted this slang name. So the Russians used to call them whips. So let's have a look and listen to the way it sounds.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. If you still like what we are doing, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell, and stay tuned for the next episodes. But before I go, I would like to remind you that Rosoboron Export is the only state-owned official intermediary in the area of dual purpose and military goods, services and technologies.